Thank you. As I stated earlier, I'm from vArmour. I run product management there. You won't find out a lot about vArmour at this point. We're a stealth mode company. If you go to our website, you'll see we took $36 million over the last year, essentially. But I can tell you this, that our sole focus is to provide visibility, security, and threat analytics inside the data center, focused specifically on the data center. And for us, SDN is not a nice thing to have. It's really kind of a mandatory, and I'll go through that, when I do my presentation here. But if you think about it, if you think about data centers, you got a lot of traffic now in the data center that essentially is east to west traffic. It's not going over the perimeter at all. And so you got a lot of this traffic that moves around in the data center. There's no visibility, there's no control of this traffic, there's no way to see what's going on. Right? And so if you're going to build like a stateful firewall up to layer 7, you're going to try to insert this inside the data center, especially a heavily virtualized data center. How do you do that? It's very difficult to do that, to get inside the flows. If I have traffic moving between one VM and another VM on the same hypervisor, if I have nothing there that can force the traffic to some spot for inspection, I can't really secure my data center. So what I'm going to contend specifically is that without SDN, it's going to be very hard to secure internal data centers. So let me run through this here. Which button is it?
That one I pointed out.
Okay. Okay, so if you look at, like I said, a lot of data center traffic today is east to west. It's moving east to west. In fact, I saw a study that Cisco had done a few years ago that said that now about 75% of the data center traffic is purely inside the data center, never exits the perimeter at all, right? So what's the interesting thing about this? The interesting thing is, if you're going to put a layer 4 through 7 device inside the data center to try to look at this traffic, to try to inspect it, where do you put those elements, right? In a pure layer 2 or layer 3 world, you have to isolate down at the layer 2 level, right? So if you're at a virtual switch, the only way to do it today with like ESXi, unless you're a kernel module and can intercept all the traffic, which VMware is kind of pushing people off that path by getting rid of the VM safe APIs. How do you do it as a guest VM sitting on top of a hypervisor? How do you force all the traffic through you? Well, the only way to do it on a VSS or a VDS is to isolate by port groups or create a whole bunch of different switches on every hypervisor. If you have 40 VMs sitting on a hypervisor, that means you have to create 40 virtual switches or 40 port groups so you can isolate down to the specific VM layer. That's basically impossible. For like a rack of 30 servers, you're going to have hundreds and hundreds of virtual switches or port groups. It's really not applicable at all. So micro segmentation at the VM level is very difficult, right? But people want to do it because do you really trust your data? Do you really trust the perimeter security elements you have out there today to secure your data center? As we know with all these breaches, once they get in, what these people do is they laterally spread. If you have no visibility at all into what's going on inside the data center, there's no way to really secure it at all. So the whole concept of the trusted data center is really broken down. And people want to secure the inside of the data center, but how do you do it? So essentially our contention is that organizations don't want to re-architect the inside of their network. As folks here said, that's just a no-no. People aren't going to do it. We encounter greenfield environments where people are doing something new for the first time, and they're willing to do micro-segmentation at the layer 2 level, right? But those are few and far between. If you go to a data center like a Goldman Sachs or a JPMC or a Bank of America or what have you, they have this huge network, hundreds and hundreds of racks of systems, and they want to support security inside the data center, but how do they do it? And really, if you think about it, the one way to force all traffic on a switch, a physical or a virtual switch, is using SDN. So we think that SDN is an incredibly important technology from the standpoint of securing the internal data center. Okay, and the key here thing is that traffic can be steered very easily in an SDN environment. So I can essentially force all the traffic to go to one port, inspect it, and reinsert it back on the network. For us, about 50% of our customers and prospects today are using SDN specifically for this purpose. So we don't see SDN as just a nice thing to have. We actually feel that we're a use case for SDN, and the folks that want to secure the inside of their network, SDN is regardless of what it is, if it's OpenFlow or VXLAN or what have you, all we need is a way to steer traffic to us for inspection, and then a way to reinsert it back on the network in a very cost-effective manner. And so we believe that SDN is absolutely a key enabler for security inside the data center. Okay, in terms of the state of SDN today, I'd like to go through like basically three, what we specifically at vArmour have experience with regards to like orchestration and SDN solutions. And the three that we today are mostly focused on is the whole OpenStack Neutron and KVM and Zen OVS model. There's a really nice model there for us to be able to, orchestrate the system to create isolation at the OVS VM layer and provide security and enforcement without having to re-architect the network at all. The OpenStack stuff has a really nice construct. Yeah, we've made a lot of progress out there. I would like to see more actual customers involved in the OpenStack committee process, because you have a lot of vendors and things are kind of moving slowly, but I think things are moving along now fairly quickly, and we know that OpenStack has got really nice capabilities to provide isolation at the VM level. So this is a really nice solution. I have some pictures of this in just a bit, but the other piece is the whole NSX, the VMware NSX piece that they've come out with. It's a little expensive, but it basically gives you a capability to service insert using NSX Manager, and the NSX Manager essentially can push security policies to you when you need them. So I think that NSX stuff is really good, and we see a lot of promise there in the future. The last one I want to talk about is the Nuage network stuff. The Nuage folks over here, they have a really nice solution that works across ESX and KVM, and we see a lot of customers out there that are interested in Nuage. And so I'm not shamelessly promoting them here, but I'll tell you that they have a good solution. It's a good overlay solution that works across ESX and the KVM environment. So here's a good picture of kind of the NSX firewall SDN piece. The nice part here, and I don't just have the nice part here is that the NSX firewall kind of intercepts the traffic, and so essentially the NSX manager, you can give it policies to push down traffic redirection rules, and basically the traffic redirection on the NSX firewall pushes all the traffic to the ports for our specific firewall, and then we can inspect the traffic in like vWire mode, and then push the traffic back down to the NSX firewall that pushes it to the right port on the NSX switch itself. So it's a really nice construct. In the past with ESX, you kind of had to pull ESX to see if there's any new VMs that are added or removed from the system, and so it's kind of a slow process. But with the NSX manager, essentially we register with the NSX manager, and the NSX manager pushes VM objects and security policies to us that it sees that it adds or removes from the system. So we can very quickly take security policies at L47 and push those down into the firewall without really there being a big security gap there. So the NSX stuff is really nice. It's a little expensive, but I think it's like somewhere like $6,000 per CPU or so. So I don't know what kind of uptake it's going to have, but I can tell you from a security perspective in the ESXi world, it's a very nice solution for doing service insertion for layer 4.7 devices. The second piece I'll show you a picture of here is the whole OVS KVM piece. This is actually really nice and very easy. We specifically have a Neutron module that runs on Havana and soon Icehouse that allows us to essentially do full firewall as a service with OpenStack. And what we do in our case is we kind of modify the bridge. We modify the bridge so that we modify the essentially the OVS bridge, so that we isolate via SDN each one of the actual tenants, and then we insert through like an external bridge, so that essentially any VM to VM traffic on OVS has to go through us. So it's very easy for us to do a tenant or VM isolation in this case, and we can orchestrate this throughout the whole data center very quickly, including the the security policy piece as well. So this allows us to deliver layer 4 through 7 security Yeah, in an OVS, KVM, or Zen environment without a lot of manual reconfiguration. For our agent, what we did is we put in some pieces that are not there for the normal OpenStack Neutron module, so we can do things like create firewall instances, plumb the network side there, plumb the SDN side, and then add the security policies on them. So it's a very complete system. The only problem with well, there's a number of issues with OpenStack today, but the main issues that we face is in a multi-vendor environment, it's difficult to patch OpenStack in a multi-vendor environment. So I know they're working on that now, but we'd like to see a little bit more, operational efficiency in supporting a multi-vendor OpenStack environment. And then the last piece I want to show here is on the Nuage side. Like I said, a lot of customers, we've gone out there, they say the issue that they have is they have ESX and they have KVM. And so they don't want to build a security solution for, they don't want to build an SDN solution just for ESX, and then a completely different SDN solution for KVM, orchestrated with different pieces. And so they like the fact that Nuage can deliver this overlay SDN functionality across multiple hypervisors, across the data center with these nice templates. And so a lot of our initial customers have really focused us on supporting Nuage. And we actually are doing an integration right now, and we really like their product and see a lot of interesting things we can do with it. The one last piece I'll show you is with the layer 4.7 capability we can actually do application traffic steering in an SDN environment. As you know, SDN is pretty much layer 2, right? So how do you, if I want to steer traffic based on the application type, we can actually do that. So essentially, we're just a port sitting on an SDN switch. We get the data, we look at the application, we determine what the application is, and then we essentially use the northbound interface, the REST interface on the SDN controller to program the SDN controller to move the traffic. Like if you're doing a backup, for instance, you may not want all the traffic to go through a layer 4.7 device. So we can actually steer around us. And we've done some interesting things with Arista in the fact that Arista has this direct flow capability. So instead of having to go to an SDN controller and program the SDN controller, we can program the switch directly. So it's a pretty cool application. And okay, sorry. Just the last thing I want to say is that SDN is not a nice thing for us. It's a mandatory for supporting security inside the data center. Thank you.